I'm more than sure you've seen these kinds of edits before. They're usually of your favorite sports, shows, movies, you name it. Now watching them is pretty fun and pretty entertaining. When you actually want to try and make them, that's a whole nother story. Since they're mainly made on a pretty powerful software, and if you're really trying to get a decent experience, requires a pretty hectic desktop to make. I mean, hell, the laptop I had on alone is worth over $2,000. Then here's the Nintendo Switch. The model that I have at least is worth about $200 give or take, handles okay games, and is pretty impossible to play Fortnite decently without cardboard graphics. But what I've been wondering recently is, could it be possible to make an edit on a Nintendo Switch? Okay, that's a pretty random idea, but hear me out. I would just have to figure out how to use After Effects and make a full edit as I would any other day, but it would all have to be done on the Switch, by actually editing the edit on the Switch screen and controlling it with the Joy-Con. At first, that doesn't sound too bad, but just you wait. Off the bat, we know the Switch doesn't have any preloaded editing software. And I mean, it makes sense. It's made for gaming, not editing. Closest thing would be the Nintendo Switch album with screenshots and replays from games, and the way that you can edit it. Yeah, moving on. Unfortunately, by looking at this evidence, I don't think it's possible to make an edit using solely the Switch's tools and capabilities. Now, after acknowledging all that, I thought, well, maybe I could find a way to screen mirror my laptop screen to the Switch. I mean, it's similar to what I did when I tried to edit on the VR, and it sorta worked, I guess. So after researching, I found out that this was a legitimate thing that people do. Screen mirroring their desktop screen to their Switch, mainly used to play stuff like PC games. I thought, awesome, I could just use that to screen mirror After Effects from my laptop to my Switch. But then I found out it would not work on my Switch, since what they used was a jailbroken software, meaning it only worked if you had a jailbroken Switch, which I didn't have. And for those who don't know, jailbreaking a Switch is essentially hacking into your Switch to make it do stuff that Nintendo never intended for it. It does break Nintendo's TOS, voids your warranty, and can get you permanently banned from its online services. And if used for game piracy, you'd literally be breaking the law. Yeah, risking jail over Mario Kart. Don't do that. But if you're just modding it for fun and not doing anything directly illegal, you're more so in the gray zone. But don't get me wrong, it's still pretty risky with Nintendo, especially if you're somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. So I'll be honest with you, at that moment, I have sort of hit a block in the road, and I was actually considering jailbreaking my Switch. Although I later found out that the model I had was a little newer, so I would have to pay somebody to professionally install a chip inside the device, and then it would have costed me like an extra $150. And listen, as somebody who currently has pennies and nickels in my name, I wasn't too invested in this idea. So after a lot of thought and thinking, I just decided to change paths and find another way to do it. And besides, at least I won't get sued by Nintendo because of this video, and I think it would be pretty lame if I took a paid-to-win option to finish this challenge. Hell, where's the fun in not seeing me emotionally break myself? So after doing more thinking, a light bulb went off in my head. I remembered this little trick everybody used to use back in the day to get access to a web browser on the Switch by changing like your Wi-Fi settings or whatever. And I mean, hey, it was pretty handy and it did work, so I thought, hey, let's test a few screen mirroring websites. So technically, I would basically screen mirror my entire screen from my laptop and then access it on some random website on the Switch. And like usual, that did not work. I later found out the reason to that was because the web browser was only designed for stuff like hotel Wi-Fi logins, meaning you couldn't actually stream anything like live video feed over that web. In technical words, it was designed as an older web infrastructure and therefore didn't support WebRTC. So once again, this was another dead end. And at this point, I didn't really know what to do next. And after a while, I thought, well, if it can't support something like streaming video footage because it's an older web, I should go down to its level and try an older fashioned method as well. Eventually, what I settled on after days of researching, abusing ChatGPT, and even learning a little bit of code was to host a server off my laptop using a program called MiniWeb, which then turns that server into a website which I could access on any device that's connected to the same network as me. Then coded a few scripts to essentially take a screenshot of my entire screen, send that to the server, and do that automatically over and over about 30 times every second. So in the end, we get this illusion of it looking like an actual video. Kinda. So in the end, I can tell you that this method was the one that worked, but I had to spend days troubleshooting a few issues with it, like the website crashing because of how fast the site was refreshing, or how the mouse didn't show in the previous screenshots. So I ended up tweaking it around till eventually had this little dot right here to represent the cursor, and the highest frame rate this shitty Nintendo Switch browser was able to process without crashing was 4 frames per second. Why do I do this to myself? So how it worked is I would have to load up the Switch browser, type in my local IP address, which is obviously blurred out because I don't want to risk getting doxxed. Then when I click connect, I get maybe a 480p to 720p display of my laptop. Not too bad, we finally got something to work. But wait, Charlie, this only emits footage from your laptop screen to your Switch. How are you going to actually manage to control it with the Joy-Cons? So for these Joy-Cons, I went ahead and connected them to my laptop as a Bluetooth device. Then used a separate software called Joy-to-Key to reprogram what each button does. So in summary, I ended up programming these joysticks to move the cursor, the back triggers to right and left click, bumpers for undo and redo, and the rest of these for a bunch of different commands. Usually when I make videos like this, I already know what kind of edit I want to make. But for this case, I didn't. So I watched a bunch of different edit audios and ideas I had downloaded for inspiration. Or at least I tried to. Eventually, I settled on this idea. Yo, wait, I think we might just do this one. I could make the intro. What is bro editing? Have it be a clip of the reverse flash, goes into a reverse flash edit. Absolute cinema. Idea inspiration comes from YVXR10.am's edit on TikTok. And what's with editors using the most goofiest usernames? So first thing I did was import the scene pack, found the intro clip I wanted to use that would transition into the edit. Then I recorded this shot on my phone. After I shot one I liked, I uploaded it to Google Drive and I decided I would just continue the rest the next day. But that night I installed a new Windows update, which was fine at first until the next day when I wanted to continue the challenge. Nothing wanted to work. I mean, the server the website was being hosted on for some reason didn't have permission from my laptop and my Wi-Fi's modem. And then the controller's Bluetooth also went, what's the point of working? Let's be a pain in the ass. So maybe after 4 hours of troubleshooting and catching a cold in the process, I eventually got it all working again. So once it was finally working again, I imported the intro and the edit audio, then started marking beats. But bro, remember this refresh rate is at 4 frames per second, and the cursor is like moving at a linear speed. So the best way to explain it is, imagine there's a button in the middle of your screen that you want to click. Your cursor is on the left, so you move it to the right, but then it moves way too far on the right, so you move it to the left again. And then it goes back to where it initially started. The only way for you to break out of this loop is to put it in the right spot at the right distance, till eventually that it would go over the button in the middle of the screen, and then you could finally click on it. Now imagine doing that for every single time you wanted to click a button. It wasn't like I was gonna get a break while I was marking the beats for the edit. But thankfully the audio eventually sounded fine, since my headphones were just wirelessly connected to the laptop. But the problem was I couldn't mentally sync the audio I was listening to and watching at the same time due to the frames just moving way too slow. So I really just relied on this beat pattern here. 7 years later of finally finishing marking beats, I got to cutting up clips, which was almost as annoying to do. Thankfully, we only needed about 6 to 7 clips. Oh shit. After cutting up the clips, I slowly started to align them, added frame blending, and eventually pre-compose them. I decided that I just wanted to do reverse zooms, which I'll be honest with you was pretty darn annoying to do, but it was not comparable to editing those graphs. Oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. Okay, why is the graph so freaking tall? Where the hell these keyframes are at? Why does it keep freaking flipping? After Effects, nah, hide and seek, bro. Me just adjusting and fixing the graphs all together had to take me over an hour. Low-key, where's the closest bridge at? And then I also ended up adding text in the intro. Before you ask, how did you type the letters? There's clearly no keyboard on your Switch. I ended up just installing a virtual keyboard and pinned it to my taskbar. So anytime I needed to type in some sort of text, or even just needed the keyboard to run an action, all I had to do was pull it up from the taskbar, and easy as that. So in the middle of almost being done with the effects, I randomly realized I missed a whole ass beat. But thankfully, I caught it in time, so I managed to just add some extra clip I had, fixed it up, and had it suit the edit as well with the reverse zooms. But then I realized I also missed another beat with the first clip. The first clip was long enough for 2 whole beats. So what I just did was I added a little flash frame, and then I changed that second part of the clip to be black and white, which honestly suited it fine. So that was a close call, and I guess it worked out in the end. Hopefully. I mean, I haven't really been able to preview this edit so far. This is what it looks like when I try to preview it. Okay, so finally I ended up adding a little outshake at the end of the intro and in the start of the edit to transition it from the intro to the edit. Okay, that was not necessary. Then finally I kind of gave up on the extra effects because man, I ended up getting sick in the start of recording the editing process. So I'm even surprised that I kept recording this video. I was pretty damn near giving up altogether. And that's not with editing. I meant that with light. By the near end of the edit, I added the frosting on the cake, pannings, flickers, and color correction. For the intro, I used a lighter version of my realism CC, and for the actual edit, I used my remastered clear CC, which if you would also like to use in your own edits, you could find that in the pinned comment. Finally, I ended up pre-composing it all together, added my watermark presets, finally set it to render. I just click Control M and we put it to render. I am so happy I'm done with this. I am so sick. I have sniffles. Everything hurts. And I just want to die.
6.5 hours later.
The final edit is rendered. But before we can get to watching the edit, we need to get through a part that every editor hates. Having to deal with this giant rendered file from your editing software. It's huge, unwatchable, and terrible when it comes to posting it. Normally on my end, it would be an AVI file, so I'd have to convert it to an MP4 using Handbrake and then upscale it using Topaz. 2 programs, double the weight, and it's just way too much hassle. But for this video, we're gonna have an upgrade by using UniConverter 17. It ends up combining both of those steps, converting and enhancing, making it pretty epic. So I'm just dragging my AVI to the converter tab, set the output to MP4, and it's ready in no time, literally. Now that we have our edit in an MP4, I need to upscale it. So then I just head to the video enhancer tab, click on the upscale button, and that's literally it. It even supports formats like AMV and FF1, plus a AI format recommendation if you're unsure which one to use. But if you're the type of person who has dozens of renders after finishing a project, don't worry, because with UniConverter's batch processing feature, you could run multiple clips at once and even have it all exported even faster. Here's a side-by-side of the edit before and after the final upscale with UniConverter. One of the best parts is it's way smaller in size. Perfect to posting it to TikTok, YouTube, or Instagram. If you want to streamline your workflow, check out Wondershare UniConverter 17 with the link below, which also has a discount code connected. But now, let's watch the final edit. I hope it's not bad. I hope it's not bad. Why did I make this video? Anyhow, let's watch it. It's okay. It's okay? Question mark? So W to the upscaling. The actual edit, I don't know. Kind of, I don't like the zooms. It's very stiff. It's like slow and stiff and icky. I think it could have been worse though. At least I caught the grass because they probably would have looked worse if I didn't fix those. So I guess it could have been worse. CC does carry though. Wait, I just realized I used the wrong watermark preset. Oh my god, I used a version I made like a long time ago. I kind of like it though. With the black and white, it looks nice. I might actually start using that now. Oh man, bro, that was painful. I never thought I would have gotten sick while making this video, as well as running into all those obstacle courses that I did. But thankfully, in the end, it worked out because there's always a way, as much as it may not always seem like it. So finally, after I don't even know how much editing I did for this video, so whatever number is on the screen right there, we have finished the edit. Go see how that's performing on TikTok and Shorts. Maybe it's viral, maybe it flopped. If it flopped, that's embarrassing. And then go ahead and watch this video where I tried to edit on a VR. I mean, if you enjoyed this one, I'm more than sure that you're gonna like that one.